Okay, guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. And what is today's date? 26, I think? I don't remember. It's Tuesday. It's about it's 8:53 in the morning. We're at 61 degrees. We're gonna hit 80 today. But the house is still cold. The house will stay cold for 3 days at least, maybe 4. Because they build these houses out of all concrete and tile, and they stay 10, 15 degrees colder than the outside. So in the 7 months of warm weather, it works in your favor, but in the winter months it's terrible, and this is the terrible stage. All right, so we have a lot of very important news that I'll reveal to you, and it appears that I gotta check the live stream. It appears that a war against Iran by America is going to start within hours. And I'll give you all the facts I have, and we'll break it down, okay? First, I want to make sure I got a live stream. Let's see. Looks like we're good. Let's see. Yeah, we got some people coming in. I'll shut that. Okay. So I'm not going to put posts up in the chat. I'm still crippled with my equipment. I'm using my one working iPad to do the broadcast. And that means I can't easily do a lot of good Bible studies. I do have a Bible program on the phone I'll use a little bit today. But, and I also have to remember everything I put together in the last 3 or 4 hours this morning and get it to you. I will probably know by tonight if the MacBook Pro is, I invested a little bit into it to see if it'll come to life again. And I should know probably tonight. It's possible, but unlikely to be tomorrow, but probably tonight. So if that happens, I can use the MacBook Pro to do the broadcast, and I could get back to normal and keep hoping and waiting and asking for more funds to come in so I can replace the broken iPad, which would probably be with a Samsung S10. Maybe an iPad, I don't know. I have another iPad. I have to investigate the iPad Air. It's somewhat cheaper than the Pro, and I have to make sure the microphones and stuff like that work well. I don't know yet. I'll investigate that when the funds come in, I guess. And I should have the new phone probably by Monday, if not Sunday. Probably Sunday, I don't know yet. And then I have to set it up. I got to get a SIM card for it, which I think I'll order today. And I think I'll keep the Samsung phone I have now working like that, the way it is, and put another SIM in the the new Samsung phone, so I can use that for broadcasts and still be able to answer my phone. I'm working in this area right now. Buying the cheap tablets doesn't do any good because the microphones, and it's going to come up garbage. The new Samsung phone will outperform the cheaper iPads with doing broadcasts because it's a high quality product, and I bought it one generation back. So I got a 24 instead of a 25. So if it comes to it, I'll do the broadcasts off of that, which should be very high quality. The Samsung phone I'm using now is generation Note 9, and the new ones are all the way up to 25. It doesn't even update anymore. So, it's on the blink, and I can't. Anyway, I don't want to go through the details. So I'm still hoping and waiting for more funds so I can get back where I was. But prophetically, it looks like there's not a lot of time left anyway. All right. So let me do some praise, and I'll get into everything that's going on with you. And it's rather shocking. So there is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right, so let me tell you what I know, and this is all coming down now in like real time, okay? So this is what we know. A bunch, maybe three, four, or five refueling tankers, which were American and Australian, took off from Australia a few hours ago, and they were refueling some American bombers and possibly fighter jets. Fighter jets is maybe. The bombers seem to be very real. And they were coming, I guess they were leaving the Asia Pacific theater. You need to know right now there's no more aircraft carriers left in the Asia Pacific region. America still has some ships there, but they're moving an additional 25 ships over to the Middle East. They have about 25 here now. Now this is shocking, and I am rather peeved that no information came from any Israeli media on this. Now, do they know it? I can't tell you for sure. Mostly they're hung up on Israeli Middle East news. But currently, right now, India has an aircraft carrier and France has an aircraft carrier around Oman, which is Indian Ocean, Oman. It's right out of the Persian Gulf. Oh, you wait till I tell you what happened in the Persian Gulf yesterday. Oh my gosh, this is big. So I better keep checking for my live stream to make sure we're stable. I have no way of. Some people coming in. We got some people. Okay. So I'm not going to put posts up in the chat. I'm still crippled with my equipment. I'm using my one working eye. Okay. So there are planes, probably bombers, B-1, B-2, B-52. Your guess is as good as mine, heavy bombers. The B-52 is not just a heavy bomber. This thing has 8 jet engines. And when you fill it up with everything, it weighs 500,000 tons. I mean, that's loaded to the max. So there is a chance they bring in some of these and maybe they are flying empty and they're going to load them up over here. But no, I don't think so. I think they're flying with a full load, okay? In addition, now this is really heavy duty, 6 French refueling planes, along with one American refueler for a total of 7, took off from France, and I'm not sure where the American one came from. And they were flying loops around in the ocean off the UK for a long time. And they shut their transponders off. First they had them on, then they shut them off. Why did they shut them off? Well, they shut them off when whoever they were refueling got close to them, just in case somebody wants to attack the bombers or lob missiles or something like that, right? And they were doing the loops, and then they returned back to France. And I'm not sure where the American refueler went. Likely France, UK, I don't know. And that would mean to me that they finished their refueling of whatever they were going to refuel. Now we know that 3 B-2 stealth bombers. Now, this is very, very serious aircraft, okay? These suckers carry a heavy payload, they're stealthy, they're extremely difficult to take down if at all possible. I mean, even for China and Russia, it would be monumental tasks to bring these things down. And they were headed to Diego Garcia. Now, what is Diego Garcia? Well, it's called the British Indian Ocean. Now, let's say this is the Persian Gulf, okay, here. This is the Persian Gulf. It has a pincher point here called the Straits of Hormuz, and we're going to talk a lot about the military issues there yesterday and ongoing between Iran and America, and it's monumental, believe me. The Straits of Hormuz is here, and then out here you have a smallish body of water called the Sea of Oman, because there's a country there called Oman. And then as you go east, you wind up in they call it the Indian Ocean, okay? And then there's the British Indian Ocean, and there's some smallish island thing there that the UK has, that Garcia place, and that's where the B-2s were headed. Now, from there to Iran, from the Diego Garcia UK area to Iran, is rough cut about 2,500 miles. Okay, so I think the B-2s are probably going to land there and then take off again. That's the understanding I have when they hit Iran. Now, 2,500 miles for a B-2 is a lot, and I'm not sure if it needs refueling or not. It may not. I don't know. It could be looked up. I haven't done it, but these things are dead serious. Now, they may use the B-2s to go in first, so they may already be at Diego Garcia, and they might be refueling and, you know, going to the bathroom, drinking coffee, rotating crews, whatever, and then go take off again, okay? Now, the fact that India has an aircraft carrier, which is going to come with escort vessels, and France does in the region. Now, they're not going to the Straits of Hormuz into the Persian Gulf because they don't want to get hit by anti-ship missiles or other things that Iran may throw at them. Now, if this isn't, and wait till we finish with what's going on in the Straits of Hormuz, but Iran launched yesterday submarines on their way to the Red Sea. That's where America is operating, in the northern part of the Red Sea, like approaching, you know, like Sudan and then Egypt, you know. And that's where the Truman Aircraft Carrier Group is. And they're the ones that are launching planes to bomb the Houthis. Okay? So Iran is going to minimally threaten the American warships with the submarines. Now, do they have nuclear powered submarines? Forget that. You know, I mean, their submarines are probably 2 steps ahead of having chickens on a conveyor belt power the thing, you know. But they might have 1 or 2 modern ones, or 3 even, but they're not that good and they're not so stealthy, and I don't know what they're doing. Now, I always tell you that the American Navy are not built with complete imbeciles and idiots running it, and there's about 25 American warships in the Middle East, and I would think there's a minimum of 2, if not 4, American submarines loitering around underwater protecting these bases. In the Red Sea, there's simply nothing that Yemen could do to a submarine, 3, 4, 500 feet, 7, 800. I think they can get down to about 900 feet. In World War II, they were able to go a little over 300 feet. Remember, they typically will use depth charge type devices against a submarine. So they have to know where, they have to be overhead on the surface of the water. They have to know where the submarine is, probably within 100 yards, right? Or probably within 40 or 50 yards to have any real impact on the thing. And then they have to understand where the depth of the thing is. So then they could set a depth charge, which is like a big steel drum full of high-powered explosives. They set the fuse on it to allow the depth charge to go down to the desired depth, and then it explodes, and they hope it's close enough to the submarine that the percussive force in the water would damage the submarine. Now, getting a lucky shot, like the thing landing on the deck of the submarine, or 2 feet away or something like that, is, they'd love to have that happen, but it doesn't usually happen. So they fire patterns of depth charges. So they have launches, they'll boom, 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 and they'll put, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever out at one time, and kind of space them a little bit to hope their odds increase so they get them, okay? But they also have more sophisticated ways of getting submarines where they could drop things from airplanes, and aircraft can lower a buoy into the water on a cable and fly low and slow and try to detect it. There's a million ways they could do it, but it's something that the Americans are going to have, the Brits will have, the French will have, probably China and Russia, but that's where it stops, okay? Maybe India has it, okay? Maybe. Another way to kill an aggressive submarine from Iran is to have an American, sub-hunting submarine, find it, and torpedo the sucker. Okay? I'm sure the American torpedoes will outrange the Iranian torpedoes, and they'll have exceptional accuracy compared to Iranian torpedoes. And can the Iranians detect an American submarine? That's a pretty interesting question. The Iranian submarines would be diesel, and they would run on electric motors when they're submerged. And that's what Israel uses, is diesel submarines that run on electric motors. In World War II, they called them electric boat submarines. Okay. So when they're on the surface, they run their diesel engines, and the generators charge the batteries. They got, probably 25 feet of batteries in there. And the submarine could go underwater for, a period of time. I think today they could probably go even 3 days. The Israeli ones, I think, can go at least 3 days underwater, but they have tricks. They get near the surface of the water and they stick up a tube called a snorkel. It's probably 2 tubes. And they run the diesels while they're submerged so they can't be seen. The only thing sticking up is that tube. And they're also going to have the periscope, and they're going to look around, and they're going to have radar and all that kind of stuff. And they're going to be, well, they're probably not going to put a radar thing up, but they're not easy to spot because, what's the pipe, 5 inches, 4 inches, and, it's sticking up in the air by, not a lot, maybe 10, 20 feet or something, how are you going to get it, if the submarine is moving, it makes a wake. But if the submarine is just loitering, or traveling very slow, like 3 miles an hour, there's not going to be a wake you're going to see. So then they exit the gases from the submarine up to the surface, and they suck air in to keep the diesel running, and they charge the batteries. And then when they charge, they pull the snorkel down and they dive deeper. I think they could probably get maybe as deep as 40 feet under the water. But, if you were in a very, very clear sea like the Caribbean on a sunny day, an aircraft looking for the submarine may visually be able to see it down that deep. But if there's an aircraft, the sub will know about it. They'll terminate the snorkeling operation and dive, and then the boat's out of luck. Okay, they missed the submarine. They have to first detect the submarine, and they gotta lock on where it was. Then they gotta circle around, get their weapons ready, come back and bomb it. But that's probably going to be a minute or more, and the submarine can get the heck out of there, dive, and that's the end of it. Dive and turn the engines on and start going 15, 25 miles an hour, depending on the sub, and then they could drop all the bombs they want. They're just going to kill fish. So they did send several of their submarines to the Red Sea, so apparently they intend to attack the American warships. Will they be successful? I don't know. But what you need to understand is Iran is desperate. They got a big mouth and they can't deliver. Okay? They're just a big, big mouth. All right? And they're trying to do anything they can to stop America from wiping their country out. So the psychology of the war with Yemen, what the Yemen Houthi rebels are doing, they got another Reaper drone in the last day or two, by the way. I think they're up to 16 downed Reaper drones, probably approaching $1 billion worth of damage. So Trump's not exactly happy. The Pentagon's not exactly happy. Okay. They're continuing to launch cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and drones and swarm attacks on the American warships, trying to bag an aircraft carrier or a destroyer or whatever they could get. So this is making life difficult for the American Navy. Okay? They have to be careful. And they got to have their crew on 24/7 alert. So the guys are probably running around with life preservers and, all of this stuff, because with a swarm attack, one could get through, and that might be all they need. Let's say they hit an aircraft carrier with planes on the deck. Maybe there's 6 planes, 8 planes, 4 planes on the deck, and the planes are fueled up, ready to go, and the suicide drone or the missile hits, and the planes catch fire with that fuel, and it spreads, and they might have bombs, and now you got secondary explosions, and you got a major nightmare for the aircraft carrier. They might have to get one of their bulldozer things. They have vehicles, they could shove a plane off the side. I don't know what maybe they would just put foam on it. I don't know what they would do. Okay? If the plane was really on fire and had an explosion from a bomb, it could blow holes in the deck. It could blow down the conning tower. Missiles have warheads that could be exploded in the flame. I don't know, So they're really on edge. Okay? I do not think they caused any damage. I heard early on that there was a takedown over the ship, one of the aircraft carrier, and the incoming missile or drone was exploded, and then shrapnel fell down onto the aircraft carrier, but that wouldn't do anything. Oh, it might have, scratched the windshield on a jet, or if a sailor got hit, he might have got hurt, but it wouldn't cause any significant damage of any sort. I mean, unless it just happened to manage to hit a windshield on a fighter and broke it or something, it wouldn't make any difference. Shooting down the Reaper drones is not making Trump and the Pentagon happy, believe me. If you think America is not at war with Yemen, what do you call bombing them every day for, what are we on, 5 or 6 days now? Every night they get bombed. But notice America doesn't come in during the daytime. The jets, they're worried about something, And now there are anti-aircraft missiles that all of a sudden Yemen got, obviously from Iran, possibly Russia to Iran to Yemen. And they're trying to take down the planes. They haven't succeeded. And now they're using, I believe, F-18s mostly off the aircraft carrier, and they might have a limited amount of stealth capability, but it would be rather limited, and they are probably at risk. Now, America has very sophisticated electronic countermeasures for incoming missiles that would confuse the missile and make the missile strike. Your missile generally follows heat, so they have these decoy things like flares and stuff that they throw up. They also have drones that could accompany the jet. I don't think they're using them here, but they do exist, that emulate the fighter jet. So they have a drone that's a throwaway drone. They don't care if it gets blown up. That's going to send all the electronic signals out and a heat signature, making a missile or missile launchers think it's an F-18, and they're going to knock down, a $2 million drone or something like that instead of a, $30 million jet. I don't know if they're using that. I doubt it. So America's on edge, okay? But what the heck is an Indian aircraft carrier doing here, and what the heck is a French aircraft carrier doing up here? They just coincidentally went up here because the weather's good and they want to have a, barbecue on the deck for their sailors in nice warm weather, and, come on. They're here because of Iran. Now, how would Trump, France, I understand, okay? India, why would they participate? there's only one reason I know, and it's called Trump. Trump had a powwow with Modi, probably more than one, and is talking about trade and commerce with India, which Trump is excellent at. And Trump would know how to push Modi's buttons. Modi and his analysts would sit there and say, gee, this stuff that Trump is throwing at us, Modi, the crazy thing about this is all our analysts say it'll work and we'll prosper from these deals. Okay? Trump got oil he could sell to Iran. So he could tell, very simply, he tells Modi, look, your days with getting oil from Iran are over. I won't allow it. I'm going to destroy Iran. Okay? But if you want to come into my camp and be a good guy and work with us against Iran, I'll supply your oil. I'll guarantee your oil. That would really be all it would take. Because Modi knows that Iran is a bunch of screaming lunatics. China just made a deal with Saudi Arabia for oil because they know that Iran is on borrowed time. Iran's right at the top of the endangered species list, right next to Yemen, okay? Biblically endangered species list, I would say Elam, and Yemen is, Elam is Iran, and Yemen is Edom, and they both get destroyed. We're not seeing much on Jordan yet, but give it a chance. I'll cover the scriptures for Jordan and Yemen a little later today. It's Ezekiel 25, very good chapter. And it's for today, and I'll bring that out to you pretty plain. So what happened in the Straits of Hormuz? American warships started blocking ships carrying oil, possibly natural gas, but I didn't read that. Oil is the main kicker here. And they started stopping them. I mean, you're talking not, little boats with 50 caliber machine guns and shoulder-fired RPGs. You're talking about American destroyers with 16 missile tubes, and, they're not going to mess with that. These are civilian tankers. So they stopped them, and they said they want to see the papers. There are your papers, because Iran is breaking Trump's sanctions like crazy. And Trump said maximum pressure on Iran. So in other words, the great voice, daughter of Babylon, spoke. And the hammer of the whole earth is hammering. That's the daughter of Babylon from Jeremiah 50:51. So they apparently boarded the ships and they inspected their paperwork, the logs, bills of lading, the stuff they have to carry. And they detected that the documents the Iranian ships were using were forged, in other words, counterfeited to make it look like it was Iraqi documents. Apparently, they were making it appear to be Iraqi oil, which is not under the same extreme punishment as Iran. Okay? Trump said he's going to put a 20% tariff on any country that buys Iranian oil. This was recently, 2, 3, 4 days ago, or a week at the most, I guess. Probably less than a week. So that goes to India. He's telling Modi, hey, you want a 20%? Modi says, listen, Donald, I don't care for this junk. Talk to me about how we're going to make money. And then Trump probably had a couple of really good proposals for Modi, and they were real. Trump understands making money. War, no. Money, yes. And Modi went for it. So Modi, you'll get your oil. If I have to sell it to you myself, I'll sell it to you. I'll get it for you from Saudi, UAE, Kuwait. I'll get it. Don't worry. Come on. Come with me. We'll get rich together. So what's Modi say? You tell Modi get rich together? He's got starving people in his country. I'm in, Donald. So he sends his aircraft. And it's not the first time he sent an aircraft carrier to the Middle East since October 7th. He sent an aircraft carrier with a number of vessels over by Yemen. He was really ticked off at what Yemen was doing. And then he pulled the ships out. I don't know what deal he worked with Yemen, but I don't think it was satisfactory. And he's mad about the Red Sea with the Houthis in Iran backing him, so he's got motive. France is with America, and they understand the problem, and they want Trump to help them with Russia, so they can. It's not hard to understand. It's a NATO country, and they don't. France and America have words and all that stuff, but when it comes down to the bullets, they'll hang in together. So the Iranian foreign minister denied, or I'm sorry, I think it was the economic minister, denied that any that America seized any of these ships using the phony Iraqi documents. But Iraq is sitting there like this, shaking like a leaf, because they're ready. And what are they going to do if America and Israel and the UK and other countries decide Iraq is, better off being a memory? It's better to make them into a memory. Remember when there used to be in Iraq, So they came out with a full confession. Openly, they said, no, America confiscated these ships. They seized them. So these ships are probably flagged in Panama or Seychelles or Mauritius or some little island paradise someplace, And they probably run through multiple bearer share, corporations. And you're not going to board a ship and immediately look at it and tell it was, it doesn't belong to Iran, or it does, So they figured out these were forged documents to make it look like it was Iraqi oil. How they did that, they didn't tell us. That would be tools of the trade. But I'm sure a lot of people in the oil business know. So Iraq said, yeah, they didn't just do a blockade. They actually grabbed several tanker ships carrying Iranian oil with forged documents to make it look like it was Iraqi oil. So he's pleading, he's throwing himself at the mercy of Trump. He knows what's coming, and he knows you can't count on Iran for help. Okay? Then what did Iran do? Oh, this is a good one. They have these go-fast boats I've told you about. They're 60... They got, the last count I heard, which goes back up at least 6 months, they had 1,500 of these things. Now, this is Iran's, hybrid warfare attempts, like taking container ships and converting them into missile launchers, and taking ships, like container ships, and converting them into drone launchers. They don't have the real goods like America, China, Russia, France, Italy, Germany, India, UK, so they do hybrid stuff, right? And, they can't hold up. So they have at least 1,500. They might be at 2,000 now, I don't know, or maybe they just stopped at 1,500. Go-fast boats. They're mostly 60 to 90 feet. Probably 60 to 80 would be the majority of them. They're all different. These are basically civilian fast boats that rich people buy, and they'll put them down by Miami or, something like that. And, once every 12 weeks, they get in the boat with their friends, and they got really thick seats, and they sit in the boat and they drive. They can hit, some of them could hit 80, 90 miles an hour in the water, a lot of them 60, 70, but they're going to vary because they didn't buy just one kind of boat. They were buying them from different sources around the world and different brands. So they got problems with interchangeable parts and, lots of things. And they would rig these things up to become something like an American PT boat, which I think those were about 90 feet. They had bunks. The PT boats were deadly in World War II to the enemies of America. Okay? They put torpedoes. Remember, the boat has a nose like this, right? So it cuts through the water easier. So they would mount torpedo launchers, which are more like things that throw the torpedo into the water off the deck of the boat, right? And they would have, two torpedoes, one on either side. I think in some PT boats they had, I don't know, they might have had two and then another two. I'm not sure how they did it. But they would usually put two, I know that, and they would launch by the torpedo would fly off the deck of the boat. It had a path it went on. Maybe it had a metal half-tunnel looking thing, and it fell in the water running. And the way they aimed it is they pointed the boat, the PT boat, at the ship they wanted to blow up, and they had to get close. But when you're now these PT boats didn't go 60, 70, 89. I think they went about 45. Maybe they could hit even 50 miles an hour. But that would have been about double the speed of a very fast destroyer in World War II. So, and it's not a big boat. So how would the boat they were attacking with the torpedo defend against them? Well, launching a torpedo at a small boat that doesn't sit deep in the water, that can just, zigzag, is a waste of a torpedo. They'll see the thing coming, throw the wheel, and it'll miss. That's it. So they would try to hit it with heavy machine gun fire, typically 50 caliber, and they would try to hit it with their deck guns, which would normally be a 5 to 8 inch gun. And that is that gun is gonna work when you're shooting a boat that's 2 or 3 or 400 feet long, that's wide, that's heavy and can't maneuver fast and doesn't have that kind of speed. But hitting a PT boat with a deck gun, an artillery piece, is ridiculously difficult. And they would take ships out and then just scoot away. Also, let's talk about an aircraft coming at them. Well, the aircraft would try to strafe them with its guns, right? But you're talking about a very small target that's zigzagging at very high speed. Not a simple thing to do. And they had guns on the PT boat, and they would take their 50s and try to hit the plane. So the plane's coming at them to strafe them. Guess what? It has 1 or 2 50 calibers on the PT boat firing at them. So the pilot's not exactly leisurely, going to get close. He's got to be real careful. So he's got to crank it up to 300, 350 miles an hour to dive World War II. And these things were hard to take out. So Iran has these, okay? And they put, I believe they're 50 caliber guns on them, a gun. Some of them can shoot the torpedoes. And what they also carry is anti-ship shoulder-fired missiles, or they may just be anti-tank shoulder-fired missiles that could go maybe 2 miles, and they could definitely damage a boat. Okay, for sure. I mean, if you shoot that into the conning tower of an aircraft carrier and you get a hit, you're probably going to disable the ability of the aircraft carrier to launch and take off jets. But it's easier said than done. The aircraft carrier, has a lot of defenses, and the last line of defense is four phalanx guns, which fire tons of ammunition, 20 millimeter shells, which are 1 pound projectiles. It's almost an artillery piece. And they go at over 3,000 feet per second. They have a 5 mile range. And they spew these things out probably about 3,000 a minute. And they got plenty of ammo for these on these big boats. And they just put a wall of bullets up. They're radar controlled. And then the incoming shoulder-fired missile, which isn't a fast mover at all, you could follow it with your eyes, is going to get shredded. And, they got anti-missile systems and all kinds of stuff. So, and they're protected by destroyers and missile cruisers and jets and attack helicopters and everything under the sun. But they launched 250 go-fast boats yesterday into the Red Sea by the Straits of Hormuz, where the Americans have been blockading and seizing the oil. So if they want to go after the mother lode, the aircraft carrier, and you got 250 of these boats in the water, and let's say 75 of them head right at the Harry Truman aircraft carrier, and at the same time they have 40 or 50 drones coming at it, and at the same time they're launching ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, anti-ship missiles, whatever, at the boat. Could they sink the aircraft carrier? My opinion is not easily, but yes. It's going to depend on how much junk they throw at the aircraft carrier at the same time. Okay? So the protection for the aircraft carrier, or the destroyer, or the missile cruiser, is to stay pretty far away so they have a good warning time, and to make sure they don't get hit by a swarm attack. What if Iran, if there's an aircraft carrier, the aircraft carrier now, the Truman's in the Red Sea, but the French and I had the names of those aircraft carriers. Charles de Gaulle is the French one, and the Indian one, I can't pronounce the Indian dialect. It had a funny name. They're pretty far out from Iran, but if they start seeing the go-fast boats approaching, what are they going to do? They're going to send a bunch of fighter jets up in the air quick. And these go-fast boats are not much of a match for sophisticated fighter jets. So they would shoot the go-fast boats with rockets, missiles, and strafe them. But if you had 100 go-fast boats coming, they'd probably have to put 25 or 30 or 40 planes up in the air at once to take it all out. But they could do that. They could do that. Okay? And if they launched a huge amount of go-fast boats at these fleets of France and India, and they saw these boats getting picked off like flies, would they press the attack and lose all the boats? Well, you're talking about Iran. And what Iran would need to do to accomplish deterrent is to hope, let's say of one swarm they put 80 go-fast boats. They hope one or two of them make it through and get a hit of some sort on an American vessel and sink it or burn it up or really damage it. What are the chances of that happening? Probably 75 to 90%. What would the Americans do? or the French or the Indian. Well, America would just say, okay, we lost the ship. That happens in war. And they would just push harder. Why all these refueling tankers last night? It's daytime here in Israel. Why? Because there's a lot of heavy bombers on their way to the Middle East, and they're going to be here, within hours. Are they going to drop their payload and more refueling tankers will meet them on the way home? And I don't know. Or they might land at a friendly location. Diego Garcia. They probably wouldn't want to land in Jordan or Saudi Arabia or Israel because of infuriating Iran. So Diego Garcia is British, so they already hate the British, so that's no problem. The amount of refueling tankers that have been launched in Australia was around 5, and then 7 in the Atlantic by France and the UK. One refueling tanker could refuel 5 or 6 jets, probably 3 bombers. I mean, there's a big air wave coming. It says in Ezekiel 25 that Israel destroys Edom, which is Yemen. Okay? Israel destroys it. I'll go through that with you. So that makes me think. See, I'm the only one that uses real Bible prophecy with the current events and tells you what's going on, right? Bible prophecy is truth. Now, is it possible that this strike gets called off, or it was some massive refueling exercise or something like that? Well, a massive refueling exercise at the same time with Australia and France and America in the Atlantic and then in the Pacific? No, it doesn't make sense. Plus B-2 bombers going to Diego Garcia all at the same day and the same night. It doesn't make sense. No. Could they call the attack off? Sure. Could they just land these bombers somewhere in the Middle East? I mean, Israel would take them. If they said, we want to land in Israel, Israel would take them. Does Israel have underground runways where planes can go deep underground and not get blown up by bombs and missiles? Yeah, Israel has that stuff. So they could land and then just go underground, and then they're very safe down there, and then wait till they're needed. So there's places they could stash them. If they do land in Israel, you'll not hear about it. Israel won't tell anybody. I don't think this is an exercise, not when you put all the moving parts together. So what I'm telling you is it's likely, but I can't give you a written guarantee or say 101% this is going to happen in the next few hours, but it looks like it will. Something's up, okay? Now, he wouldn't be moving the aircraft here today, and waiting for the additional aircraft carriers, the 3 additionals, to come over here, which is going to take weeks. Why go through that? Doesn't make sense. Trump is completely angry, along with the Pentagon, over what's happening with the Houthis, and they said the Iranians are giving the Houthis weapons to drag this out. All Iran has to do is take cargo planes, load them up with missiles or whatever the heck, bombs, fly over to Yemen, land, they offload it, and then the plane goes back, gets another load, and comes back. Okay? Now it's gotten to the point where they got anti-aircraft missiles. All the times in the past year that Israel hit Yemen, or year and a half, They were not shooting anti-aircraft missiles at us. I didn't hear that. Well, we were using stealth jets predominantly, but not exclusively. So now all of a sudden they got anti-aircraft missiles. Well, you think these idiots can't even read and write. Did you ever hear of anybody in Yemen winning a Nobel Prize? Does Yemen manufacture automobiles, cell phones, computers, tablets, refrigerators, ovens, televisions? No, they got some oil there. It's a backwards country. These are not very literate people. Iran has very literate people. Iran has scientists. Iran has smart people. Not Yemen. Easily do a lot of good Bible studies. I do have a Bible program on the phone I'll use a little bit today. But, and I also have to remember everything if I had a contributor base like the secular people that report on the war or say they're Christians and don't know anything about it, I would have an app built and put it up on Google Play and the app place for Apple, and have you guys download it so I could send you messages when things happen. But I don't. Typically, YouTube will send you a notice that I do a live stream once a day. There's a chance they could do it a second time, but it's not highly likely. So the way things are going, I suggest you keep checking the channel for videos. Now there's another easy way to do it. Check Telegram, my Telegram. Because when I do a YouTube, I put it up on Telegram and I also put it up on my Twitter. Okay? It's easier to go through my Telegram and find it, and you can play the video right off. Just click on it in Telegram and it'll open up the YouTube and start playing, okay? Now, my Telegram is free, okay? Completely free. The app is free. It's called Telegram Messenger. You can get it like any other app at the Apple place or the Google place for Android. And it's got over 7 million people, and it's very safe, very secure. People don't have any problems with this. There's no censorship. I can say what I want, and believe me, I do. Okay? Am I shadow banned on there? I don't know. I don't notice any great signs of it because I have new people coming in constantly, but they leave. They come in and they go out because of what I teach. They don't like it. They don't like Jews and Israelis, you know. There's about, not quite 660 or 670 or 80 people or something. I don't think I ever hit 700. Very few people want to listen to me. And it's very hard for me to get my message out fairly in all the social media. They don't want me getting big, okay? And I think that might apply to Telegram, but I'm not sure. I don't know. There's churchianity sites there that have hundreds of thousands of followers. Now, I've started going through Hebrew social media heavily again because I'm picking stuff up that I'm not getting from other sources, okay? And I'm putting it on Telegram. Now, if you want to get all the news, you got to listen to the YouTubes and the Telegram because I put stuff in the YouTubes that's not on Telegram. And because there's so much information I put on Telegram, it's not, all of it's not always in YouTube. So it just depends as to what you want. Okay? How deep you want to get, how much information you want to get. If you want to just get the overview, you can listen to the videos, or you can go to Telegram and go through the posts. There's a lot of posts up every day. I must have over 100 posts a day, probably 150. I update it now, I would say 7, 8 times a day. So much is happening. I cover not just Israel and the Middle East, I also cover America heavily, Russia, China, not that heavy with Asia. I don't go deep into Ukraine and Europe and Asia because the trigger for the big wars and the big events is going to be over what happens in Israel, not what happens in Europe or Asia or Central America or anything like that. So when I look at all these moving parts and put it together, I think Trump's going to hit Iran rather quickly. And I think Iran, I told you this a few days ago, Iran knows these extra warships are on the way over here, the Navy warships, right? And he knows it's going to take 2-3 weeks. More, maybe a month, but probably 2 to 3 weeks. I told you that Iran's best move would be to make a move before those Navy ships get here. And that's exactly what Iran is doing. This is most unlikely for the Houthis in Yemen. Could it be? Yes. Could it be that Trump's going to hit the Houthis and Iran? Yes. But Israel destroys Edom, which is Yemen, not America. But Elam, which is Iran, and some historians consider pieces of Iraq and Syria in there also, will get it. And Iran will, in Jeremiah 49, the prophecies tell us Iran, called Elam, will be devastated so badly that the people have to leave Iran, and God scatters them into every nation of the world, right? And the sword follows them until they're cut off. They've been antagonizing and making life miserable for Israelis for decades, supporting Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen, Bashar Assad in Syria, Iraq. These people have all fired at us, you know. They're not, Iran is not friendly with Jordan, nor are they friendly with Saudi Arabia. Now, Iran may also hit American bases and oil refineries in the Middle East, and I'll explain. On the edge of the Persian Gulf, you have Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman, all oil-producing countries. And they have American troops, although I'm not sure there's much American presence in Oman, or there may be none. And America has a big Navy base in Bahrain and an air base in Qatar, which some people pronounce Qatar. Qatar is how you transliterated it into English. However the heck you pronounce it, you're pronouncing an Arab name, you know, word. I don't know how you pronounce it, you know. They might hit the oil refineries and they might hit the American bases. How would this be accomplished? Well, they have converted merchant marine vessels like container ships that could launch huge amounts of drones. That would do it right there. They have others that could launch huge amounts of missiles. That could do it right there. These ships have their own radar. Short range radar is probably good for 200 or 300 miles. So they would just have to get reasonably close to the country and then just launch swarm attacks. A bunch of missiles and a bunch of drones launched to arrive at about the same time and overwhelm the air defenses of these nations and American bases, which is not very strong. There's at least 5,000 American military in Kuwait, and I would say the same, if not more, in the UAE, and then there's probably a whole lot in Qatar and Bahrain. Then comes Jordan. They could hit Jordan, they could hit Saudi Arabia, more bases. The Houthis could take out the Saudi Arabia oil refineries with missiles, drones. They could start trying to launch drones and missiles at Saudi ships carrying oil or any other thing they don't like. You're dealing with the criminally insane here, okay? The Houthis in Iran, they're criminally insane. They don't know what they're doing. They're lunatics. They're drinking the cup of the wrath of the Lord, and they're under delusions, and they think they can actually win this thing. The Houthis continue to shoot missiles at Israel, and we take them down. We've taken down 100% of them, but there was one yesterday that they told us it was taken down before it entered Israel, but there was shrapnel falling in Israel from the explosion. So it looks like they got one over Israel in the air, but didn't touch down and cause any damage. So because of this, it's entirely possible that America may deploy a stealth bomber or a B-52 or two over to Yemen to show them the next level of firepower and hit a lot of underground facilities, which they're loaded with. But I have a better idea that Israel may hit Yemen at about the same time that America hits Iran. Or maybe not. Maybe they wait a day or two. If Yemen is not devastated and Iran gets hit, it's a crapshoot as to what the Houthis' policy is going to be. It bifurcates in two directions. One direction is, let's get scared, because now we lost our big brother Iran, and we better cut this stuff out, or we're gonna, between all their bombings and us launching, we may start running out of weapons and blah, blah, blah. Or, more likely, they'll just go into full psychotic mode, okay? Because if they get killed, well, we go to paradise and we get 70 virgins. If we don't get killed, well, we won, But I, myself, am not believing, when you look at all these events together, at the moving parts, I'm not believing that this mobilization of these bombers is to, knock out the Houthis. It might be. Maybe that's how Trump wants to warn Iran, to show Iran that they'll use the B-2 stealth bomber and they'll use the B-52s. If they have to. So it's one or the other. I'm leaning towards Iran, and it's always possible that it could be both, and it's always possible at the last minute it never comes to pass, and they wait. Iran sent a message out yesterday, I think, and said, yeah, we'll be happy to have respectful negotiations with America using a third party. But Khomeini never said that. Khomeini is the supreme leader of Iran, and his decisions override anything else. I think all Khomeini was doing was he got good and scared and wanted to try to negotiate with Trump and prevent the onslaught for as long as possible. Okay? Now comes Hamas. They're launching rockets into Israel. I'm a little perplexed, not very, how Hamas is able to do that, but I guess they had a few missiles and rockets that we never destroyed, and maybe parts and pieces, and they're putting them together. And they're all getting taken down. They're sending 2 or 3 at a time, and they're taking them down. So Israel has stress. Red alerts are going off in the south, near Gaza, and people got to run to the bomb shelters, but you're not supposed to run, you walk briskly. If you run, you fall and you trip. But you get up and out of a dead sleep at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning during the week, and you got 15 seconds, which is what Gaza has, to get into their bomb shelter. They're going to run. And you're still waking up out of a dead sleep, and you're grabbing your kids, the cat, the dog, or your phone, bottle of water, whatever, you know, it stinks. So that's the deterrent value that Hamas is getting. So they said, well, if you give us a ceasefire, I don't remember what they said, 30 or 60 days, we'll give you 5 hostages, living ones. But they left out the details. What they really want is then in return, they're going to want 500 terrorists released from prison, you know, stuff like that. It's not going anywhere. But the Israelis did counter with 11, which is the half of the living hostages, or maybe we thought it was 24, but I think now they're down to 22 living hostages. Did they recently kill 2? I don't know. They didn't tell us. Netanyahu may be afraid to tell us because too much uprisings already, and this would just heighten it. And some of the hostage friends and families said, no, we don't want half of them, we want them all. And that's what Witkoff is. Witkoff is saying, Hamas, it's simple. Demilitarize, give all the hostages back, and the bombing stops. Now, he didn't say you're going to have to get thrown out of Gaza, because once they demilitarize, it's a piece of cake. What are they going to have? A few AK-47s that bounce off tanks and armored vehicles, and pistols? What do they got? They got nothing. And also, Trump wants to deport them out of Gaza, the civilians. So we keep bombing Gaza, and we have a ground operation. What it appears the plan is for Gaza is to, every day and night, keep doing targeted assassinations with drones and bombs on various leaders. They had a new prime minister of Hamas, if you want to believe that. It's real, they did. And he got targeted, killed the other day, 2 days ago, I think now. And demolished the buildings and damaged the tunnels as best we can. And then they got no place to hide, and the rats are out in the open, and we can get them easier. And we're moving as many of the willing as we can from North Gaza down to South Gaza. I'm sorry, what they said was not a ceasefire. I got it wrong. Sorry, I don't have my notes, see, because I'm down one piece of equipment. No, they said if you resume the humanitarian aid, which is probably about 12 days old now, we'll release 5 hostages. It wasn't a ceasefire, it was humanitarian aid. I apologize. Thanks to the Lord, he brought it to my mind. And Netanyahu's not very interested in that. Because, you see, when you put pressure on the 2 million Gazans, the civilians, the 20,000 or so Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad and the other lunatics from different groups, which is about 20,000 of them. Maybe it's 22,000, 25,000, 18,000, something like that. Who knows for sure? And, there's a lot of pressure being put on them. And they have a 6 month stash of food. So Israel will start dropping leaflets, possibly maybe that say, if you need food, go to Hamas and tell them to release the storehouses of food. What would that do? It would make life uncomfortable for Hamas. If they got 6 months for 20,000 and you're going to feed 2 million, what do you got? 2 weeks? See the point? Then they too have no food and they have bottles of water, no water. Oh, so they're not dumb enough to do that. So then you turn the Gazan civilians against them even more. See the psychology? So it's a very poor plan. Now, if they want to give us all the living hostages, they would get stuff in return. I don't know what Netanyahu would give them, but he'd give them stuff in return. Because it makes Netanyahu look good and it makes the people of Israel feel good, but it's deadly for Hamas to do that because they have no leverage. And then comes more bombs and more bombs, day after day after day. And eventually there's nothing left. Now, what the Americans are doing with the Houthis is they're bombing and they're bombing and they're bombing. And the way that'll work, assuming they do something to the tunnels, the way that'll work is after a certain amount of days of bombing, maybe we're within a day or two or a week of it, the launches will stop a day. They're doing launches every day in Israel. They'll stop. You'll have a day or two with no launches, then it'll start again. And then it'll stop and start. And then you'll go a week without a launch, and then there'll be a launch, and then you'll go 10 days without a launch, and it's over. Attacking the leaders of these terrorist groups is not my favorite thing, but it seems to help. Doesn't cut it. We attacked and destroyed 100 pickup trucks in Gaza yesterday that we used on October 7th, and they were appearing with the hostages. So we knocked out their pickup trucks. It's curious that they have fuel for their pickup trucks. Well, that's from probably the humanitarian aid. They hoarded the fuel. So the idea now is Israel bombs the commercial buildings, the stores, the apartments, the hotels, whatever they got, they bomb it, that Hamas can hide in. And then we'll have to do something about the tunnels. And I don't hear him using these new bunker buster things on the tunnels because we're worried about the hostages. Because they'll put them in the tunnels and we blow the tunnels up, we blow the hostages up. We're trying darned hard to get those living hostages out. Okay? Darned hard. But Hamas doesn't really want to let go because they have no anything left to bargain with. So if they say in the middle of the bombings, if they give all the hostages back, oh, come on, let's talk, we'll work it. Then, Netanyahu says, you got nothing I want. The only thing I want you is dead or out of Gaza. You got a choice. I'll still give you a choice. Demilitarize and leave forever, or we'll bomb you to death. That's it. And now we're confiscating land in Gaza. We're telling them permanently, and we keep taking more and more. Every time they hurt a hostage, we're taking more, and we're just grabbing more and more of their land. So, if they're really dedicated to going to paradise as a martyr, they're going to have their way. But the top brass, they're not Muslims. They're Satan bots that just say they're Muslims, believe me. And those are the ones that we're assassinating. And they don't feel good about getting assassinated. Now with Lebanon, we keep attacking Lebanon every day. The government of Lebanon gives us lip service, but nothing happens. we're doing targeted assassinations, we're killing terrorists where we see a missile launcher being set up or they try to shoot something at us. We're just stripping away weapons that Hezbollah has hidden in the rest of the Lebanon countryside, and we're bombing that as well. And Lebanon's not happy, but they don't know what to do, and they're not going to take a stand against Hezbollah. Basically, they're cowards, I guess, or they're afraid of them, or I don't know what the deal is. Hezbollah's in the Lebanese government. They have a political party, and they have some seats, and they are probably threatening to kill the families of the politicians, that type of thing. So that's going on. I'm not getting a lot of news anymore about what's going on with Turkey and Syria, so we're still watching that. Russia and Ukraine are just knocking each other's lights out as per normal. I don't see any new developments. The Trump team and the Russian team had a meeting for 12 hours yesterday someplace, maybe Saudi Arabia, I can't remember where. Or maybe it was on the phone or whatever they did, and Trump saying it was positive. Well, he's not, he's always going to tell you there's hope, it looks good. Trump said he made a mineral deal with Zelensky. I believe it's minerals and precious metals, and he said it'll be signed in the coming days. But we've heard Trump say that before. Zelensky flip-flops. So do I think Trump's lying? No, I think Trump and Zelensky had some talks and they said they got a deal. But this has happened before, and then Zelensky just flips at the last minute. So Trump keeps telling us he's going to get Panama one way or another, and the way he's laying down his international credibility with the military, I think he means it. If I was Panama, I'd be a little worried right now. But, that attack or invasion or takeover, whatever terminology we use, I'm 99% sure that America will try to the utmost not to harm one civilian. And Panama has nothing to fight with. I mean, 5,000 Marines and they got the base. They don't even need Marines. They could use infantry. They could use whatever. They'll have the base, and then they'll have an airfield. And near there's an airfield. I think they call it Fort Howard. I don't know if it's still functioning. I have no idea. But they can make an airstrip if they want to. And they'll dock some warships up there. Not aircraft carriers. Why would they need them there? They don't. Some destroyers, missile cruisers, and stuff like that. And they'll bring, tanks in case the people want to overrun them. And they'll run the Panama Canal with the Panamanians operating it as per normal. Or maybe the Americans won't do that, and they'll just figure out how to operate the canal from the Panama people and then run it themselves, and they won't let Panama. They'll make that piece of land like American property, like it used to be, and Panama has no jurisdiction on it, something like that. They're not going to seize the cities, the towns, and the villages. The people are not going to emerge and storm the canal and fight the Americans. This is a pathetic, backward, corrupt country that doesn't know what it's doing, and it's just a mess there. They can't do a thing. China's not going to bother fighting them, and the other surrounding countries aren't going to do anything, if prophetically time allows for this, I should say. Trump's got a low priority on this one, I believe, but he's going to get around to it when the Middle East calms down in his mind. But prophetically, if I'm guessing, he'll never get around to it. It'll never happen. April 2nd, the tariffs are supposed to go down, right? How that that's going to work. I don't know. There's a lot of false rumors about Social Security now. I think that stuff that I told you the other day, where it boiled down to, which maybe is true, but I'm thinking it may not be true, is there's people that don't like Trump that are making very professional looking videos all over social media about what's going on with Social Security, where they're psyching the people up, and people are thinking they're going to get a stimulus check of $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8,000, and there's no validity to this. It might really happen, but it's probably never going to be that big, and nobody knows when and if they'll ever do it. And the latest rumor was to get signed up for Social Security now. You're basically going to have to be able to prove your identity to them online, which a lot of old and sick and blind and injured and incapacitated people are going to have tremendous difficulty doing. And if you can't, you're going to have to get your hard ID, a good driver's license, or a passport, which a lot of people that are ill, that are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, don't have passports and driver's license. They don't drive and they don't travel. So now they're going to have to go get a driver's license or an identity card and leave the house and drive maybe 10 miles or 50 miles to get an ID card or a driver's license, and that may not be enough, or they may need two pieces, then they got to go get a passport. And you know, this doesn't click to me right now as being valid. I don't know if it's valid. One of the subscribers called up and questioned them about some things on the internet, that everybody would have to validate their account by going to a Social Security office or doing it online. And this person called them and they said, no, that's fake news, it's not real. If it was real, we would send letters out to everybody to that effect, and we never did it. So this other thing they're coming around, no, what it really means, if you're going to change your payment method. So let's say they mail you a check to, 211 Main Street in, Ishkabibble, Indiana or something, right? And then you try to change the address. You say, I moved, or I want it going into my bank. This is the bank account. Or I want one of your debit cards, put it on the debit card. If you try to change anything about the payment, you'd have to identify yourself online, which many of the Social Security people, remember, a lot of these people are on SSI and stuff, probably half of them. It would be a tremendous burden. And there's about 3 million Social Security recipients that are overseas that are going to be greatly inconvenienced. So, this is a real, I don't know if it's real. I don't think it is. So people are trying to make trouble for Trump. They're trying to build up expectations for some big stimulus check that may or may not come. So when it doesn't come, they psych the people up, and then they'll come out with some sort of a reason why it's not going to happen, and turn the people against Trump, build their hopes up, and then turn them against Trump. I never heard Trump get on the TV, nor Elon Musk get on the TV and say, oh yeah, we're going to be sending you a $2,000 stimulus check as soon as we get it together. Give us a few weeks. I never heard anything like that. Elon Musk has started a chain of restaurants. There's a picture of it in, I believe it's Hollywood, California. It's in California, I think it's in California. It's not yet open, but the structure is in place. So it's an Elon Musk, or they call it a Tesla restaurant. It has 2 levels. I saw a picture of it. It's real, or he's doing a prototype as a test. And it has 2 levels, and they got electric vehicle charging devices there, so when people pull their car up, they can plug in and charge. and it's going to serve food 24/7. What kind of food it's going to serve, I don't know. Is it going to be high carbohydrate GMO crap? Probably. But I don't know, maybe not. I don't know anything about it. There's supposedly a Tesla PI phone coming out that's this fantastic phone and works with the Tesla satellite internet and all that stuff. Can you buy one? No. Have they been running around with pictures of this thing telling people you can buy one for the last 6 months? Yeah, but you can't buy one. They're not on the Tesla site. Nobody's selling them. Then here they come out, there's a Tesla PI pad, a tablet. Oh, it sounds great, $279. It's better than a $1,000 or a $2,000 tablet. Tablets here run, the advanced iPads run almost $2,000 here, by the way. And that would be the case in a lot of other places in the world. So, is that, really going on? You can't buy one. So people are doing all sorts of stuff. They stopped a bombing of a Tesla dealership. I think they detected explosives and saved it. People are supposedly returning Tesla cars. How do you return a Tesla car? You can't. I don't understand that. I think it's more false rumors. Tesla, Elon Musk is creating a lot of hatred for himself for what he's doing by cutting the worthless workers out of the government payroll. And the judges are trying to turn against Trump and stop this type of behavior. There's fears that Trump is going to reverse people that came to America 5 years ago with a green card and converted to citizenship if they prove to have affiliations, that hate America. They're afraid he might even reverse citizenship, but he's already reversing green cards. And he's talking about killing the investment programs. America has things where you would invest. Oh, I think it's $250,000 in some different projects they show you. And your investment goes for 5 years and you get a return on it. And they're usually very sound investments. And at the end of 5 years, you can become a citizen. And then you get your money back, assuming the investments were all good. And I understand they are good investments. He's trying to get rid of that, or he's going to stop the bad ones from coming in on that and be more selective or something like that. So far, Trump's raised over $2 trillion of pledges from companies to open up manufacturing and production facilities inside the United States that were outside the United States. I think Hyundai Car is doing it now. There's a ton of them. Apple, a lot of them, because of tariffs. So for the overseas manufacturing, they're going to continue it at the low cost of labor because they don't have to pay all the benefits. They don't have unions and all that stuff. So they'll use those devices to sell in the foreign markets, but they're just opening up different manufacturing facilities to sell in America. Rolls-Royce is opening up a facility in America, a very expensive one. Now, I can't imagine anybody wanting to buy a Rolls-Royce made in America. Rolls-Royce and Bentley used to both be made in the UK. It was the same company, the same car. The difference was the logo, and the Rolls-Royce has a demonic idol in the front of some woman. They call it spirit or something. It's some kind of woman with wings or some garbage like that, and a grill by the radiator. And the Bentley doesn't have that demonic woman, and it has a different grill, but they used to be pretty much the same exact car, other than that. And now one of them's in Germany. I think the BMW people make it, and the other one's still in the UK. I think Bentley might still be in the UK and Rolls Royce in Germany. It's one way or the other. So one of them, the Rolls Royce, is going to open up in America. I don't know if that was. I haven't tracked it down, but anyway, I don't think anybody's going to want to buy an American-made Rolls Royce, but I can be wrong. These are excessively overpriced cars. They usually start at about 400,000, and I think the long wheelbase, fully loaded ones, convertible one. Well, convertible doesn't go long wheelbase. I think you can get them up to $600,000-700,000. Mercedes makes a luxury car called the Maybach, which, in my opinion, is probably better than the Bentley and the Rolls Royce. It's probably faster, more maneuverable, safer, and everything else. But a lot of these people buy these cars because they want the clout. They pull up to a restaurant, a social event, a party, or wherever, work, and they get out of their Bentley, the Rolls Royce, and people say, "Oh wow, you know, yeah, listen, you buy a little Fiat, and you both, you know, leave from Miami to go to Washington D.C. You're both going to get there at about the same time. The people in the Rolls Royce are going to feel more refreshed than that than you. Very slightly is the only difference. I've had extreme luxury cars. Never that extreme on luxury. I had very, very expensive sports cars when I was still working in the world. I had, at different times, Porsche turbos, and, you know, that's pretty high up there. And I had a 911S many years ago, you know, stuff like that. But I mean, I've been in Rolls Royce. They ride really good. Their brakes are good. They accelerate quick. They're quiet. They're really nice cars, but they're big and bulky. But they're really nice cars. But I don't know how reliable they are. And, you know, I knew a guy that had one in the South someplace, and they had a lot of money. They were raising, I don't know, cotton or something, and he bought a Rolls Royce, and the drive shaft of the thing broke. So they contacted Rolls Royce, and they sent the guy down to them, and he had the car towed, and they repaired it, and it came back, and the guy came back, and they said, "Well, how much is the bill?" And the guys just looked at them and said, "Sir, Rolls Royce crankshafts don't break," and walked away. There was no bill. But that's a long time ago. That would have been, I think, in the 60s or the 50s, probably the 60s. You know, if you like to be driven, the Rolls Royce and Bentley is a nice car. They have smaller ones, convertibles, that are way more drivable. Mercedes and BMW make better sedans than the Rolls Royce and the Bentley, and they're usually about a third of the price, and they're more luxurious. They ride better. You know, it's just a better car, but it doesn't have. I mean, lots of people buy Mercedes. Few people buy Bentley and, you know, Rolls Royce, that kind of thing. So that's why people get drawn to those things. But the Maybach Mercedes is the way to go. But it's still a Mercedes, and oh, he's got a Mercedes, so what? Oh, he's got a Rolls Royce convertible. Wow, that's heavy duty. Or a Bentley Continental convertible that's, you know, $500,000-600,000. You know, big deal. You know, most convertibles, when you put them up, they don't have a dome light. Rolls Royce has a dome light in the convertible. Well, that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, isn't it? And get it to you. I will probably know. All right, so let's see if we could get into Ezekiel 25. I'm going to take a fast break, and we'll go to Ezekiel 25. The first half is about Jordan, which I think we'll skip, because that's going to happen down the road a few days or weeks. I'll be right back. So don't forget to pray that my MacBook comes back to life. Okay? It'd be really convenient to have it right now. What did I do with my water? I kept it someplace. There it is. Alright, let's do this on the phone because I have a Bible program or two. Let me pick my program. Last time I didn't use the best one. Alright, so I gotta find my Bible program, which isn't gonna take much time. But I got about 4 pages of icons here over the years. I don't believe eSword works on Android. I have to check. Last time I checked it didn't, but I haven't checked in a year or two. I found one of my Bible programs here, but it's not what I like, and I do believe there's another one someplace. Trick is finding it. If I can't find it very quickly, I'll give up. I'm digging, guys. Over 5 or 6 years, you accumulate a lot of icons. And it's been a wonderful phone, but these things just wear out, and I think it would be nice to be able to do wireless live streams or videos in the near future. If the internet is still up, you never know what I could be doing that would be advantageous that way. With the iPads, just work on Wi-Fi. No, I don't know. I'm gonna have to use that other program. There it is. All right. So we go to Ezekiel 25. Hezekiah. Well, we'll start in verse 1. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against the Ammonites. Now, Ammon, what we call Jordan today, consisted in the past of 2 countries. Ammon in the north, the capital of Jordan is called Ammon now. It used to be its own country, thousands of years ago. And what we consider central and southern Moab, Jordan was called Moab, okay, in the past, but it's all Jordan today, in our parlance. Son of man, set thy face against the Ammonites, and prophesy against them, and say unto the Ammonites, hear the word of Adonai Yehovah. Thus saith Adonai Yehovah, because thou sayest, aha, against my sanctuary when it was profaned. This is going back a long time ago. And again, centuries and centuries and centuries, thousands of years, against the land of Israel when it was desolate, and against the house of Judah when they went into captivity. We've been out of captivity in part since 48, but we're still the majority of the 12 tribes of Israel. The vast majority is in captivity, or not in Israel. Behold, therefore, I will deliver thee to the men of the east for a possession, and they shall set their palaces in thee, and make their dwellings in thee. They shall eat thy fruit, they shall drink thy milk. And I will make Rabbah a stable for camels, and the Ammonites a couching place for flocks, and you shall know that Ani Jehovah, I am the Lord. For thus, or I am Jehovah, I guess it would say. For thus saith Adonai Jehovah, because thou hast clapped thy hands, and stamped with the feet, and rejoiced in heart with all thy despite against the land of Israel. Behold, therefore I will stretch with my hand upon thee. See, one of the ways Satan works is he gets the people to sin, and then God punishes them, and he says, oh boy, this is great, God's punishing his own people, you know. Behold, therefore I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and will, you see, he doesn't have any real power, he just is a deceiver and a liar. So with deception and lies, he gets the people to get God angry at him, and God punishes them. That's what he's done in the past, but God's going to forgive Israel their sins in one day, and that's redemption. So, behold, therefore, I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and I will deliver thee for a spoil to the heathen. And I will, deliver them to a spoil to the heathen is not turning them over to Israel right here, for whatever time frame he's referencing right here in verse 7 of Ezekiel 25. Will cut thee off from the people, and I will cause thee to perish out of the countries. I will destroy thee, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, because Moab and Seir do say, behold, the house of Judah is like unto all the heathen. See, they're happy. Israel is not behaving like Israel, they're behaving like the Goyim, the heathen. Therefore, behold, but again, this is way, way back in the past, I think. But let's finish reading it and we'll see. I think it shifts, if I remember correctly. Therefore, behold, I will open the side of Moab from the cities which are on his frontiers, the glory of the country Bet Shemet, I don't know, Beth Shemot, Belamion, and Kiriathaim, unto the men of the east with the Ammonites unto the men of the east with the Ammonites, and will give them in possession, that the Ammonites may not be remembered among the nations. And I will execute judgment upon Moab, and they shall know that Ani Jehovah, I am the Lord. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, because Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. Therefore, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom. Okay, so now we're in Edom. It says in verse 12, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, because Edom, which is Yemen, hath dealt against the house of Judah. That's who's in the land now, Judah. Not the 10 tribes, just Judah and Levi, which is called Judah. Which you could say that the Levites here are Judah's Levites, you know. The house of Judah by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended and revenged himself on them. And that sounds a lot like what the Houthis have been doing for a year and a half or so. Therefore, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it. So Edom is going to be a desolate waste place. That could happen this week. I mean, I don't know. It's on the way, though, very quick. And will cut off man and beast from it, desolate waste place. And I will make it desolate from Taman, and Taman means south. It's what we call Yemen, but biblically it's Edom. And they of Dedan shall fall by the sword. Well, that is probably Saudi Arabia, but maybe at one time it was in Yemen. Could be, I don't know. It seems to me that it really refers to Saudi Arabia, which is next door to Yemen. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel. So right now, stop. Trump is not going to mow down Yemen and make it a desolate place. We do that. Trump could keep bombing it. That's a far cry from making it a desolation. He could even drop big bunker buster bombers and blow up underground facilities and tunnels, but that's not a desolation. We make it a desolation. And I will lay my vengeance. So that sounds like it's a bad thing. It could be the day of vengeance, but it really does not have to be at all. Upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to my anger. So he's going to direct Israel according to his anger, which sounds like it's pretty substantial. Very substantial. And according to my fury, doom and gloom on Yemen. And they shall know my vengeance, saith Adonai Yehovah. Whoa. Thus saith Adonai Yehovah. Because the Philistines have dealt by revenge. The Philistines is Gaza. Revenge, yeah. And have taken vengeance with a despiteful heart. Oh, what they do on October 7th. To destroy it for the old hatred. They just hate us because of the past. Therefore, thus saith Adonai Yehovah, behold, I will stretch out my hand upon the Philistines, and I will cut off the cherethims, that's related to them, I guess, and destroy the remnant of the seacoast. They're going to be destroyed. That's Gaza, the seacoast. And I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes. That's going on now, I expect. And they shall know that Ani Yehovah, when I shall lay my vengeance upon them. Well, I will probably know. So this leads me to believe that America loading up all these aircraft bombers, I'm pretty sure they could have fighter jets as well. Maybe there's a small amount of fighter jets with the bombers escorting them for safety. We don't know all of this, but the people that were watching the air traffic did not pick up. Well, they don't know what they picked. I don't know. I think it's just bombers. Are probably for Iran. Because Trump is going to make Iran follow the sanctions, and Iran is setting itself up to rebel against Trump, and there you have it. So please remember, I'm still trying to raise funds to get another tablet, and we have a prayer request for PC, Papa Charlie, PC, Papa Charlie, general healing for Papa Charlie, PC, general healing. So please pray a traveler's prayer for my wife. She's still traveling. And pray for me and my wife Rivka for our peace, safety, protection, joy, and healing, that we heal up. And pray for us to have strength, stamina, and endurance. And pray for our finances. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for our birds and dogs to be happy, healthy, and whole. And still, if you wish to come to Israel before the Great Exodus, and I'll still stand ready to help with counsel. And if I know you, you can use our guest house for a jumping off point, and try to find your own place. Or if it's a small amount, we could, we could work something out. You could possibly stay here a while, but mostly would probably want to get your own place. But anyway, and I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I hope you got something out of this. And you would probably want to subscribe if you want me to see my updates as to what's going on here in the Middle East. And there's a lot of people in the Middle East that follow Arab media. I do to a limited extent, and I follow people that work in Hebrew that follow it to a great extent, because grandma and grandpa or mommy and daddy grew up in Morocco or Algiers or some country, and they know Arabic and they know Hebrew, and they read the Arabic social media, and then they post in Hebrew, and I translate. So you're going to get a lot of news a lot sooner than you're likely going to get elsewhere, and you're going to have me showing you the prophecies to interpret the news. Like, we know that this massive air onslaught is more than likely for Iran. It could be for Yemen, but they're not going to devastate Yemen. We will. Now, we might attack Yemen at the same time as America attacks Iran. Do not think that would not happen. It may happen. I don't know if it will. The government won't tell us until the planes are dropping the bombs. And we'll need refueling tankers and stuff like that. But, I mean, we're capable of sending, easily a wave of 25 planes, and then another wave of 25, and another wave of 25. And, man, you keep running that stuff a few times a day, you'd be surprised what happens in a week. So that's what I got. My email address is at the bottom of the description box. It's israelgiving with the number 7 at gmail.com. The PayPal offering information, and please just use PayPal as much as possible, other than GoFundMe or Patreon. PayPal information's in the description box. There's an offering section, and it has a link to PayPal. And that's where you should send the offerings for the devices, the iPad and stuff like that to replace. And, it'll be a Samsung, I think, so. And that's what I got for now, which is plenty. And I will be paying attention to see what happens. And it looks like something's going to happen. All right. Iran is definitely taking action. Like I told you, they're not going to wait for more warships. They're going to make a move. They're going to make a move first. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I am out. Thanks, guys.